All right, we're good. We're starting up.
Sweet.
Okay, perfect. I see us live. Yay. OBS
Cool.
is reconnecting. Okay. Nope, and it disconnected again. Oh. Mm.
Order 66 is carried over. Oh
What the
no.
heck?
It's bleeding over
Oh
into
no.
Order 67.
What is it doing? Okay. It just keeps disconnecting, reconnecting. Wait.
We had 10 seconds live on Twitch, it appears. And
Perfect. It
still owner said
reconnected on
hi, Dragon.
YouTube. Oh,
Weird.
OBS Studio reconnection successful. Okay. No, maybe we're good now.
Oh, live now. Here we
Okay.
go. Here we go. Yes. Looks like we are back. We're rolling.
Okay.
Order 66 just wanted to get that one last jab in.
Oh,
It's fine.
I know. You know, technology. This is just perfect. Okay.
Yo, I have 99.9k dragon eggs. This is the stream, I
Nice.
think, where I get to 100k. I'm gonna go for VIP finally. What do you think? Wait, damn it. I'm already VIP. Ooh, I can do so many dragon flexes. Oh my god. Do all the dragon flexes.
I'll just be
Uh,
permanently flexing the whole
Don's just
show.
gonna have to be flexing the entire time.
Oh, no. That's fantastic. Okay.
I'll save that. I'll save that for a different stream where I just make you flex on stream literally the entire stream.
That sounds fantastic. I don't even remember how many. I think I decided to use some because I had some ridiculous amount of points in your Twitch channel that it's like,
Yeah.
I'm already VIP. I'm already friends with you in BattleNet. Uh,
Yep.
and I think I can do one of the other expensive ones like 5 times over or something. Like,
Nice.
yeah. Like, cool. What do I do with all these points?
I love wasting channel points. It's great.
Flexed 5,000 on people. That's the way to do it. Okay. All right. Everything looks stable. I think we're good. Uh, hopefully I don't jinx it by doing that. Oh, thanks Stream Elements now saying we're back live again. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Hey, we've
Good.
been live for like 2 minutes. Surely it holds. Stable. We're
Oh,
good.
good. Okay. All right. Are you ready?
Ready.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 67 of the TCCG Roundtable. We're your hosts, Dragon Rider. Dank is dead? Nope. And Ron, Mexico. How's it going, Ron?
Hey, it's going good. Happy to be here. Unfortunately, Dankus couldn't join us this week, so we're looking forward to having him back next week. But in the meantime, we do have a whole bunch of stuff to talk about with more reveal season things underway.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. There's a ton of stuff happening. Mostly reveal season for like all the games, which,
Oh
we're
yeah,
just to that point. So like all the games pretty much just expect that card reveals are happening. Um, but we got a whole bunch of news this week for Hearthstone, and especially since Dank isn't here, although even if he were here, we would still be talking about it anyways. So, you know, but lots of cool stuff with Hearthstone. So that's going to be the main focus of our show this week. But do you have anything going on? You've been up to anything?
um, I'm feeling better than I have been in the majority of this week, so that's nice. I feel like I just was a bit under the weather, but on the bright side, I'm not impacted by any hurricane stuff yet, which a lot of people are, and hopefully they're all staying safe because it's crazy out there. For me, I seem to be out of the path of the hurricane and no longer feeling sick. So yeah, things are good, and happy to look at some more cards and then talk more cards. And yo, I heard you like cards, so here's some more cards.
Awesome, awesome. Yes, good, good. Don't like when you're feeling under the weather, physically or emotionally, or in actual tropical
Weatherly,
storm weather. Yeah, either way. So
yeah.
none of those are great. So glad that it's getting a little bit better for you. Um, as for me, it's
How about for you?
been, yeah, it's been content. I had posted at the beginning of the month that this was going to be a very big content month. Because of course at that point I knew that the expansion announcement was coming, and that Hearthstone reveal season was coming. So I pretty much already had planned to do a bunch of videos for all the reveals and everything. So then it was like, okay, I know it's coming. The first week was a little slow, but now I know it's picking up. So yeah, we did get that. So it's already been, I think, between yesterday and today so far, I've already put out 3 videos, and there's still going to be another one. And we recorded a podcast last night and doing the podcast now.
Nice.
That's just in the last 2 days. So yeah, lots of stuff happening. That will continue like through the rest of the month. So yeah, that's been a lot. But one really cool thing that did happen earlier this week was I got to like announce and reveal for the Wild Hearts TCG that's coming. That they are doing, it started on Wednesday the 9th and is running through November 9th. They are doing a um what they're calling an ambassador event, which is that the top 5 basically ambassadors for the game who bring folks into their Discord and who go into the referral channel and say that, whoever sent you, or whoever invited you there, however you found the game, um, is kind of getting credited as being an ambassador. And the top 5 ambassadors for the game are going to earn a special alternate art card, which is
Nice.
basically like a big slime blob, and he is adorable and I love him and I really, really want him. And it's amazing. So, to incentivize people, I was like, you know what? People like card games. People want to win stuff. So how about running a giveaway? So I am hosting a giveaway. If I am in the top 5, then I will do one Kickstarter bundle for the game when that launches in February. And if I am the top referrer, the top ambassador, I'm going to give away 3 Kickstarter bundles for the game. So if you like
Ooh,
card games and you like new card games, you like indie TCGs, and you like supporting Kickstarters all at the same time, you like giveaways, any of that, or you just like supporting me, then definitely would love to have you join the Wild Hearts Discord and go in there and say that Dragon Rider sent you, or Dragon Rider invited you. Any kind of form of, even just say Dragon Rider. Just
Dragon Rider sends her regards.
yeah. Make it sound real fancy or suspicious. Not sure which one.
Right. It's perfect.
Somehow, as long as you just say that it was me, they'll get the hint. And yeah, so that's something that I'm doing, which is really exciting. And I've really, really been enjoying the game and the community over there. So that's been fun. But now we're into lots of Hearthstone stuff, which has also announced a whole bunch of stuff. Not only did they like announce the expansion, but then they were like, oh yeah, by the way, with the expansion comes like all this stuff, and then oh, here's what's coming, and then oh, we're also doing this new thing right before the expansion starts, which is awesome. And it's like, oh my gosh, okay, there's so much that I literally missed a card in my first reveal video yesterday. Like I legit completely missed a card. We were talking about it on the Doctor 3 podcast last night, and Smarms read the card, and I had this like super confused look on my face because I was like, I've never heard of this card before. Because there's literally so much announced that I completely missed it. And I was like, oh, oops. Oh well. So
Honestly, big mood. I'm like that for currently existing cards in standard. Plenty of times on my stream where I'm like, somebody plays it and I'm like, I have literally never seen this card before in my life.
yeah.
You
Like,
gotta be kidding me. They invented a card. They're cheating.
we do full set reviews for AFG and everything,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
never seen this card in my life.
Not a
Never.
chance. Not a chance I knew that existed.
It's
Yeah.
fantastic. Oh. Okay, well, do you want to start talking about the expansion and what they've announced and what it is?
Absolutely. So, well, first off, I feel like maybe Hearthstone got a little jealous that you were getting into Star Wars and, just playing around with cards and space and stuff. Because Hearthstone apparently is for the first time in its 10-year history going to space, uh, which is just really cool, really exciting. The expansion is called the Great Dark Beyond. It will be releasing on November 5th with a whole bunch of new cards, new mechanics, and different things. And it's very lore heavy this time around, which I've been hoping for a little bit for the expansions. Um, I was just getting more attached and think it's just a whole lot cooler when there's a bunch of different storylines that kind of attach to the Warcraft universe and the characters and a whole lot of other things just interplaying between the um like the different things that you can do. And what we have in this expansion is the now I don't know if I'm going to say the name right because I haven't said it very often, but Draenei. Uh,
Draenei.
that's sort of like Draenei.
Yeah,
See, tried twice, still got it wrong. Um, the
it's okay.
Draenei are basically like they have to escape their home world, and they're escaping through starships. So we have starships as like a new mechanic in Hearthstone that you can like build with all these different minions that add up together, and then different ways to um, like launch the starship either by like clicking the sort of location like thing that will come on the board or just with a card that could trigger it. There's a whole lot of things and obviously a lot of complexity that can come along with that is just super exciting.
Yeah, there's what I mean, obviously we haven't played with it yet. It just got announced yesterday, and you know, it's we're starting reveals and stuff, but the mechanic that they're adding to this set, this expansion, is starships. And honestly, this might be like my most favorite mechanic, or at least in quite a while. I think starships look super, super exciting. So starships, like they're gonna have starship pieces, and when your first starship piece dies, it will put a starship that's under construction on the board. Now, this kind of, it takes up a board slot and it's kind of acts like a dormant type thing that can't be interacted with. But you can click on it and it'll show you what starship pieces have been destroyed so far that have gone into building this starship. And then for 5 mana at any point that you want on your turns, you can launch that starship and it will take all of the pieces that have gone into that and form them together. Like all the keywords, all the stats go into that starship to build one big starship that then comes down on the board as a minion. And it's fantastic. And I love that. And I'm so excited for it. I think it's such a cool mechanic and I'm really excited to play with it. I think there's going to be like a lot of different ways to use the starships. It's like, when do you want to do it? What kind of timing do you want to use? Do you just kind of want to go for more tempo and like, yeah, I'm just going to launch the starship for 5 mana and it's only got like one or two pieces? Or do you be more greedy with it and like build it up where it's got like a bunch of pieces on it and it's just like this gigantic monstrosity on the board that's got like divine shield and the death rattle effect or like whatever, and it's like some like 10/10 or bigger like I don't know. I just think
Right.
there's really cool like different processes that you can use for how you want to play it and when you want to play it, different strategies, and it's just so exciting. It's so exciting. I love the mechanics so much.
Yeah, it definitely looks just like a very different thing. We've had locations and we've had dormant minions and things before, but nothing quite like this with this type of mechanic. And I'm very excited to see how it plays. Um, I don't think it's been communicated yet, but I would assume that Reno would still be a counter for that. Like he still probably disappears literally everything, including the starship
Yes.
that
Yes,
is on
Reno
board.
does. Yeah. So
Um,
even when it's
but
in the
that's
building
probably
phase.
the only way to actually prevent the starship from launching and interact with it. So if you're up against a Reno deck, maybe you're gonna have to launch that starship before turn 10 um, to get some value out of it. But outside of that, I don't think there's any other way for opponents to stop what you're doing with the starship. Outside of like after it launches, they have already printed a card that is some starship hate, I suppose. So if you are anti starship, which come on, reevaluate your priorities. But if you are anti starship, there's a card called Star Volpera, and that is tradable, that will have a battle cry to destroy an enemy starship or starship piece. So it's not just useless if the starship hasn't launched. So another interesting way to interact.
Yeah. Um One other thing that they talked about that I want to talk with you about before we start getting into specific cards is this pre-release tavern brawl that they will be running. It's going to be happening October 29th through November 5th. So, like the week before the expansion, because then the expansion comes out on the 5th. You can go into the tavern brawl. Now, they said in the blog post that everyone's first run will be free. So you can go in, but you can play with your Great Dark Beyond cards. So you'll be able to actually like open some packs and play with the cards that you open in this tavern brawl a week before the expansion's actually out. And it's it's basically like half of an arena run or half of like the heroic brawlseum, where it's the till you hit the maximum amount of wins or 3 losses, but it's only 6 wins maximum. But still, you still have the 3 losses at least. So, it's not like two losses or something. Not They didn't cut that in half. Um and then there's going to be prizes based on your wins, which they're going to be announcing soon. It just said more details to come on that. But in the blog post, it did say that everyone gets their first one for free. And then after that, it's either 2 tavern tickets to enter, 300 gold to enter, or 400 runestones. So there's different options, like if you want to enter, how you can do that, just like the other ones. And um, I'm sure there's going to be a ton of chances to like earn, they usually do some sort of Twitch drops, the pre-bundles, they do all sorts of stuff like that. So, people will have a chance to earn those packs. And then I would assume that they're going to also run it where the prizes, of course, again, details to come, but I'm sure the prizes would be Great Dark Beyond packs. Like it wouldn't make sense for them to
Yeah,
like not do the new
that
pack. So
maybe some golden dust, like is typical
yeah,
for arena runs and heroic brawlisiums and stuff.
yeah,
But yeah, it sounds pretty exciting, and it's just a way to get to actually play with the new expansion cards before the expansion comes out, which who doesn't love that? So I'm gonna be
yeah,
burning up some gold in the 5 days or so, 7 days or so before the expansion drops.
yeah. Me too. Me too. It's gonna be exciting. So we'll see. Like, and I'm sure they're probably gonna change it up. Maybe they'll have some different restriction or something. I can't remember if, in the blog post if they said or not, but some sort of like restriction on what cards can be played and what can't be played, if there's some sort of like change up, because I'm sure they're not just going to have it like standard. Like, right? That
Yeah.
I think that would defeat the purpose of them having like this special tavern event and then letting it just be like in standard. So it'll
Maybe there
probably
will
be some other
be,
format.
yeah, or it's just like some kind of restriction like they have in theory crafting where like you have to have 10 cards from the new expansion. Maybe it's like half your deck has to be new expansion cards or something. Like we don't know yet how they're gonna orchestrate it, but I would assume that they wouldn't just let you participate in the tavern brawl and not put a single expansion card in your deck. Like, hey, here you can
Yeah.
open all these new expansion cards. Okay, it's just standard. You can just run whatever the
That's
prevailing top standard deck is,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
win because it's optimized compared to the things that aren't. Yeah,
No,
that would be a little sad.
yeah. I don't suspect that that's what they'll do, but it is really exciting. This is something that I've wanted for a long, long time. Like, to be able to play with the cards early. They started adding like you can get some of the cards in arena, so you can kind of start playing with some of the cards early in arena. But this is something even more different, right? Like this is going to be, I think, a little bit even more accessible to most people. Um, but the fact that it's just in the client like is so cool, because before you had the fireside gatherings, right? And then then they changed it and COVID happened and everything, so then they had to change it again, and then it was like, okay, well now you can create a fireside gathering from home like the weekend before the expansion comes out, to open up the packs you got from your pre-order bundles only, and then be able to like click a certain like style of play, because then they had like three or four different formats within that fireside gathering, but then only some of them allowed you to play the new cards, and then some of it was just like play, and it was kind of weird, and not everybody either knew how to set it up or understood it or even wanted to like, you had to go to the website and set it up on your own like based on your address, and like it was just this whole thing, right? So having something in the client that people can just like log in, they can go to the tavern brawl and they can do it is so, so good. I'm so excited.
Yes, love that type of quality of life change or just impact that it has. I do kind of miss the fireside gatherings a little bit, at least as far as like pack openings and stuff. But the main thing, honestly, that I used it for was to anytime we had like our bundles, it would be me and a group of friends would get together in a Discord call and we would just make a drinking game out of it for pack openings. So the fact that it's gone might still be more responsible and helpful for me long term.
Well, but
But
maybe
yeah, I
you can
mean,
still do that with your tavern brawls. You could still go in there and open your packs.
perhaps I should put those days behind me.
Maybe
But
so.
yeah, no, it's exciting. It's definitely exciting to have like the tavern brawl just right there in the client, and it's awesome that it's your first run is free
Yeah.
and the entry is pretty minimal, especially compared to like heroic brawliseums and stuff that they've done before when they've done this type of event where it's
Hmm.
like, hey, you don't get a free first run and it's like 1,000 gold to enter and it bleeds the gold and resources that you have. This one, it's pretty much just like the cost of an arena run doubled. Um,
Yeah.
and that's not very high, all things considered, for like what you get access to. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Me too. Me too. Very excited. Um, And speaking of arena, the other big change is that with the patch that came out yesterday, they did change up the arena formatting as well. So they added um, some different sets, which they are kind of going for like spooky sets for the like Halloween time. So it is Core Cards, Ashes of Outland, Rise of Shadows, Dark Moon Fair, Murder at Castle Nathria, March of the Lich King, and Path of Arthas. So yeah, all kind of like the darker themed, expansions and
Nice.
sets. So that is in arena now, and it's still the dual class. They're still doing like the dual class stuff, which I'm sure they also have the like costumes and stuff too, or they probably just put that in if they have that. So yeah, I'm excited to try some arena. It'll be fun. And then yeah, that last week during Halloween time, be doing lots of tavern brawls and playing new cards, and yeah, it's
Yeah,
exciting.
dual class spooky arena is great. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're good at it, you can also just kind of build up your resources for the tavern brawl that you might want to be participating in. Since you can, with good arena runs, I think 7 win runs refund your gold entry and give you extra resources from it. So as long as you can sort of reliably hit 7+, which is not the easiest thing to do, you can start building up more to get to like more tavern brawls. But if you're not hitting that consistently, you may want to refrain from too many arena runs so you can save up for the tavern brawl runs instead if the
Yeah.
new card expansion stuff appeals to you more.
Yeah, and if you're someone that doesn't usually even play arena or doesn't use those tavern tickets, I recommend going into the client and just going into the arena. You can click on arena, the arena mode, and it'll bring
Mhm.
up the screen like when you were to like if you're as if you're going in to pay for it, right? To buy into the arena. And you can see how many tavern tickets you have. I recommend just going in there and seeing how many you have, and you can kind of plan as well. Like maybe if you don't have as many, you're like, I really am gonna want to do some of those tavern brawls. Plan on saving some of those. I have 42 tavern tickets because I just
Oh my god,
yeah, I have so
that's
many.
amazing.
I have so many. I think I even had
You
more.
just like never
I have
play
like
arena, yeah.
42 or 44, I think. Yeah, like I just never play arena.
That's
And
awesome.
I had like,
Well, you can finally use your tavern tickets. You just
yeah.
divide that by 2, and that's so you have 21, 22 because they give you a free one. You're gonna have 22 tavern brawl runs in the week before the expansion drops if
And
you want to
that's
just use
just
up
with
every
tickets I
single
have
one of those
now.
tickets. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like if they have more
That's awesome.
tavern tickets in the pricing, then
Yeah.
that's just even more, right? But yeah. So,
Infinite tavern brawl runs. I love it.
yeah. I
I think
actually
I
I
have
want
like
to
6 arena tickets because like I have played arena a decent amount here and there, especially like whenever a new expansion is going to drop. I play arena because they put new cards in the arena frequently. But
Mhm.
now it's Tavern Brawl.
Yeah. So
But yeah, 42. Whew.
I know, I know. I thought it was funny,
Love it.
like so Ben Heastone, I always say both ways, Ben Harstone on Twitter.
Mm.
Um yeah, I had seen him talk about it, and he like posted, he's like, I have a bunch saved up, and I have like 2 or 4 more than he does. And I was like, how does this happen? Like, how do I have even more than Ben Heastone? I don't know. That's
It's amazing.
crazy. But yeah, I kind of want to do a stream because that's the same week of Halloween. Like, I kind of want to tie that to my pack bobbing stream that we talked about that I was doing before. So
Oh
I'm not
yeah,
sure how I'm
nice.
gonna do it. Maybe I'll do it like every loss, then I bob for a pack, something.
I
It's a
like it.
tavern run. It'd be so fun. Oh,
Every game, Bob for a
every...
pack.
I have so many tavern
Maybe that's
tickets.
the
You know how
stream.
many
Yeah,
packs I would have to buy to
yeah,
make
yeah.
up for all that?
No, I know. That might be a little extreme.
It's a little costly. My wallet can only go so far. As much as it would like to go farther, it
Every
only goes so
run,
far.
maybe. Considering how many tickets you have, every loss might be too much. Every
Maybe.
run
Yeah,
might be the way to go.
it could
Depending on how
be.
much time you have though.
Yeah. If I only do it one day, maybe I'll do losses. If I spread it out over multiple days, maybe I'll do for each run.
Nice.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I definitely just wanted to talk about that because that's something that they're doing brand new for the first time, and I think is so cool. So, um, how do you feel about talking about some cards?
Let's do it. Uh
All right.
I can't believe we're going to space. So I wanna talk about some space cards.
That's right. I'll
Look at
pull it
this.
up.
Look at this dude with the space background. This card's pretty sweet, actually. And Nexus Prince Shafar is a free card that everybody gets for logging in. Like you can log in right now, and you can get Nexus Prince Shafar, and it's already added to standard, so you can put it in your standard
Mhm.
decks and immediately start playing with it. It is a 3 mana, 3/3 minion with Spell Burst, a returning keyword. Um, Actually, I don't remember if we talked about it on the show or before the show, but do you remember? I think Yumi and Dankus were talking about like mechanics and stuff, and Dankus mentioned it's like I think they'll probably bring Renathal back at some point, and I was like, I wish they would do
Mhm.
some of the old keywords, like Spellburst was really cool. It was like, wait, were they listening? Like, okay, cool. Here's Spellburst. It's coming back.
That's right.
Give a minion +3/+3, and this spell burst is what the effect reads for this card. And spell burst simply means that this effect will trigger when you cast a spell. Um, so it's sort of like an infinite buff with this minion, assuming you can play it and have it survive long enough to trigger the spell burst, whether that means you wait until you have the mana to play this and a spell on the same turn, or you just play it and it sticks on the board and then you play a spell. It will buff and give the spell burst to a minion in your hand, which you can then buff and play a spell and continue the chain until forever, I guess, or you run out of minions. Pretty sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, this one's pretty interesting. Like, I feel like effects like this that we've seen before haven't been super great necessarily. Like, they're either kind of hard to pull off or you really only kind of get the effect once. Which maybe that's still the case here, where maybe you kind of only really get the effect like once or twice, depending on if something gets killed before you can play Spell Burst. But the other effects that we've seen like this are usually like death rattles and not something like Spell Burst that you can much more easily set off on like your timing, when you want to. Like you can set it up, like you said, to potentially play this and play a spell in the same turn. Whereas you can't really do that with death rattles quite as easily. So yeah, I think it seems pretty cool.
So this card has already been featured into a deck that I started playing yesterday that was sent to me by Lolnenko. He made a 40 card because Renathal's back too for a limited time. He's back for about a month, so you can have 40 health and 40 cards in your deck until the expansion launches. And he made a 40 card hand buff Death Knight. And a very funny thing that happens with this card here, the Nexus Prince, is if you play it and you trigger its spell burst, and the spell burst hits on a minion that can copy itself, yeah, you get more. You get more spell burst.
Oh my
So one
gosh.
of the fun things that this 40 card hand buff Death Knight does is it plays this card, it plays a spell, and if you hit the Nerubian Swarm Guard in your hand, it will be a minion buffed by +3/+3. So now its stats go up to like 4/7. So there's 3/4/7 taunts that you played on the board for 4 mana, and all of them have that spell burst. So if you play one additional spell, then all three of those will trigger, and you'll get multiple different minions in your hand that are getting buffed and also carry over that spell burst. And shenanigans ensue. But it's a very fun,
Amazing.
interesting deck. And well, I mean, it even was pretty good. I went like 4-0 with it. But yeah, no, this is a sweet card. It might not necessarily be like the strongest, but it does enable some very interesting strategies that can sometimes snowball out of control.
My thought for this was put it into something like Nature Shaman, where you have like small minions and then you're already playing a decent amount of spells and spells that deal damage. So you're and then like the minions that you are playing are small minions anyways. So then all of a sudden those small minions, like 1 or 2 cost minions with +3/+3 stats,
Yeah.
become really
All of a sudden they get pretty
obnoxious.
threatening. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting way to go. It could work out. It does present an interesting challenge just with how you build your deck if you want to try to build something around this card. because this card wants you to run a lot of spells, but this card also wants you to run a lot of minions, and you can't really uh,
Yeah.
find like the perfect balance all that well. So it might just be some certain higher value things, or really spell heavy with some smaller minions, like you're saying. Um, there will definitely be some people smarter than us who are going to be tinkering with this and might figure out an optimized way to make it really good, or it might just be another card in the mix that is decent to good or something.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Arcanite Defense Crystal. This is the one that I completely missed yesterday. So yeah, I saw this
Like,
for the
no way
first
that
time last
exists.
night, and I was like, "What? What is that? What is that card?"
What are you
Like,
talking about? What is this?
I don't know how I
Not
missed
real.
it. uh, Arcanite Defense Crystal is a neutral 4 mana 3/4 with taunt and death rattle, gain 6 armor, and it's a starship piece. So yeah, seems cool. Um, 3/4 seems like a taunt style stat of a minion. Um, but having a death rattle of gaining some armor seems nice. And if you want your starship to have taunt, this seems like a pretty good way to go about it.
Yeah. Um, starships can easily be like a make your own Ziliax type of thing, right? There's got to be a starship piece with Rush. I know I've already seen a starship piece with Divine Shield. Um, just find a starship piece with Lifesteal and this one with the taunt, and there you go. You have a very slow, long setup Ziliax type effect, but that can, of course, be very powerful. And this one, even though it's like a little bit overcosted for the stat line, obviously has a bunch of other things. And what you really need to have happen for your starship in order to start building it is for one of the pieces to die. And this having taunt is pretty crucial. It protects you in a lot of ways. It's essentially like a gain 10 health for 4 mana type of card, assuming it doesn't get silenced or something. Just in the way that it will block incoming damage and force somebody to kill that in order to actually get to you, meaning that you are starting to progress your game plan for the starship, because this could be the first piece that you have die, and now you have, your starship starting to get assembled. And it, of course, will have the characteristics of the pieces that die. So your starship dying eventually would also give you the 6 armor, in addition to forcing them to punch through it in order to connect any board to you, which, yeah, seems solid. I mean, it's pretty hard to evaluate starship pieces since it's a brand new mechanic and we have no idea how that's going to interact with all of the cards yet to be released and the things currently in standard. But I love the concept and I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays.
Yeah. I personally like the Divine Shield a little bit more, but still this is this seems good. But
Yeah. Well,
let's
you want them in tandem, right? Taunt
well,
and
yeah.
Divine Shield. Man, that's annoying.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
gotta have the bubble, and the bubble is less relevant without the taunt. And then you can also give more things to it, and yeah, seems like a very important piece. Of course, it literally says piece on it, so go figure.
All right, you want to read our next
All
one?
right. Yeah, our next one here is a druid card. So they've also communicated, I think there's like 6 classes that have specific like starship pieces just to them. There's a bunch of neutrals for starships. So, of course, anybody can build a starship, but there will be class specific ones. And a really cool effect that I have heard about is that each starship, when it's like formed, has its own name based on like the class, which is awesome.
Its own
So
name and its own
Druid,
art.
yes. So Druid's going to have its own name. I don't know what that name is, but we'll find out later. As far as the piece itself, this is a 3 mana, 3/3 minion, Starlight Reactor. And after you cast an arcane spell, recast it. And the targets are chosen randomly. Also, a starship piece. So, of course, you can leverage this with a whole bunch of damage spells primarily you'd expect. Things that usually would say something like target enemy, or just, deal random damage or something. Like what's been popular in Druid lately is I think it's an arcane spell, the 1 mana like triplicate spell that names escape me, but I'm pretty sure it's arcane, and it would just continually recast. It can be very powerful, independent of being a starship piece. But it is, of course, a starship piece, so it means you can continue the effect once you launch the starship and do more things.
Yes.
What is that card? I gotta search it.
I am not thinking of the name off the top of my head, so
I'll find it eventually.
all right. I'll go on to the next one, which is
Seabreeze Chalice. I found.
oh,
Oh, it's
Seabreeze. Yeah.
Frostspell.
Oh,
Never mind. It's Frostspell. Forget everything I
that's why
said.
I was like, I'm not thinking of what this one is. Okay. Yes.
I
Yes.
assumed it probably was, you know, arcane, because it just
Oh my
seemed like it
gosh.
should be
No.
arcane. Never
I
mind. Well,
I'm
there's probably some
glad
other
it's
mechanic.
not.
Yeah, no, that would probably be pretty broken. I was a little
Yeah.
worried about that. I'm kind of glad it's not arcane.
Oh, whew. Okay. Well, now that we're over that scare, I know it's Halloween time, Ron, but you don't have to scare me like that. All right. The next one we have is our Druid legendary minion. It's Exarch Othar, 4 mana, 3/3 Draenei. Battle Cry. If you're building a starship, get 3 different arcane spells and reduce their costs by 2. Seems pretty good.
Synergy.
Yeah. Yeah. Seems good. Yeah, it's a little understated, but and you do have to have the requirement of building a starship, but I mean, you're gonna play this in a deck where you're having starship pieces and building a starships, right? Like you don't play it
So
otherwise.
for clarification though, if you're building a starship is a very interesting like bit of wording
Yes.
on a card. What exactly would that mean for someone who has starship pieces in deck if they were to have not played a starship piece yet and wanted to play the Exarch? How would that work?
It wouldn't. So if you have not played a starship piece that has gotten destroyed yet, then you're not building your ship. So you need to play one of your starship pieces and have it get destroyed or die off before you get
Right.
that starship in that building phase. So
So the
this,
Exarch needs to see the board space occupied by the dormant or location type, whatever the image looks like for
yes,
the starship in order to trigger. Otherwise,
correct.
he's a 4 mana 3/3 do nothing.
Yep. And that's real bad. Don't want to do that.
Yes. You probably don't want to put this card in your deck if you are not building a starship. And if you are running said deck, you probably want to make sure that you have the starship on the board before playing him. But hey, there might be a situation where you have to tempo the Exarch. You're like, oh, this hurts me, but I need the 3/3 in stats. Get in there.
Like, all right. If anybody plays Exarch Othar who hasn't been building a starship or doesn't have that on board yet, and you have to play it for tempo and you still win that game, send us the replay because I would absolutely love to see that. If you are in
Hell
that
yeah.
kind of situation where you have to play this for tempo and don't get the effect and you still win,
Tempo good.
to,
Get him.
I want to see it. I want to see it. That'd be amazing. Um, Yes. So in that case, he's not very good. But
Right.
if you get the effect, pretty dang good.
Yes, I would expect it should be very likely for you to have the effect in a deck that runs Exarch, and that is an impressive effect. 3 different arcane spells. They are going to be random, but there's going to be a limited pool of arcane spells that are total accessible, and getting the discount is huge. And you already saw the other starship piece, of course, where you get to recast those arcane spells. So you might even have a situation where you need to play a different starship piece, have it die, then play the Exarch, hold back the other starship piece that does the recasting, then you can play that along with your multiple discounted arcanes to repeat, and things go crazy.
Speaking
Good
of.
stuff. Yeah, speaking of crazy, we have a very powerful looking 7 mana neutral card. And is the legendary a 7 mana 7/7, right in line with the cost and stat line of Valen in his other form from Classic Hearthstone, I believe, as a priest card. This card, Valen, Leader of the Exiled, is a also of the Drane. Say it again. How do I say that? I
Draenei.
keep forgetting.
So the
Draenei.
yeah, the
I'll
way that
remember
we
it
were told
eventually.
to remember was like it's Bran, but it's Draenei
Okay, cool.
instead of Bran. Yeah.
Draenei.
Yeah.
Surely I'll remember it now that you gave me a mnemonic. Um, so he's also of the Draenei tribe, and he has taunt and a death rattle to trigger the battle cries and death rattles of all other Draenei you played this game. Um, and honestly, I thought this card was super broken until I actually read it and read that he is a death rattle and not a battle cry. I just assumed he would be a battle cry to replay all the battle cries and death rattles. I'm like, oh my god, this card's insane. But actually, he has to die first. So unless you have a kill your own card or way to like trigger your death rattle, he will not be an immediate impact card on the board that will do all of the things that you've done to this point. However, um, he is a taunt, so he's going to be protecting you from taking any damage from board. And once he dies, can really pop off because in a Draenei focused deck, you're going to have a whole bunch of battle cries and death rattles that have triggered throughout the game. And this card will, of course, re do all of those things. You can build your deck very much around this to where, like, hey, once this card dies, the game is over. So you might even need to be running something that can deal 7 damage to a minion, for instance, or kill a minion for cheap. Um, I think Warlock has some like kill your own minion stuff right away for very cheap too. Something like Priest could run a Shadow Word Death to immediately kill it, so it's like a 9 mana combo type thing. But in just stat line itself, it's still pressuring and protecting and threatening a whole bunch of things. So a whole lot of stuff all in one card should be really interesting to see how it's applied.
Yeah. And the other thing that we didn't really mention with the Draenei yet is that they are focused on a synergy of doing stuff with other Draenei. So like most of them have a like the next Draenei you play dot dot dot, you know, whatever will happen. It'll get stats or some effect will happen. Now I am really curious on this one specifically as well because so far like all that we've seen have been battle cries, and we haven't like this. I think so far is the only death rattle Draenei that we've seen. So I'm like, okay, what are going to be the death rattles then? Like, how many are there going to be? Is it going to be worth it to run this stuff? Like, you know, because if you're just killing this thing off to get like your next Draenei gets +2/+1, and like, woo, like that's not
Yeah.
exciting, you know? So like, I'm waiting to see the like the real big like payoffs for
Yeah.
running this in a Draenei deck,
Like, you
you know?
know, do a bunch of damage or clear a board or heal yourself or gain armor, all kinds of different effects that could happen based on either battle cry or death rattle that you can have lined up.
Yeah.
I think probably the scariest and main thing to focus on for a card like this would be if there's a Draenei with a copy effect. If you can have more of this, and then it kind of goes essentially sort of infinite. And there's already decks and styles that run ways to copy the minion that you have, like Priest comes to mind, where you could play this and then you could copy this and then you could copy it again and then you could just keep going off with more Valen ad infinitum. So, that would be something to look out for sure. But powerful looking card. I expect there's going to be a lot of people playing around with this one.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some other cards here. We have a Warlock card, Foreboding Flame. This is a 2 mana, 2/3 elemental. Battlecry, demons that didn't start in your deck cost 1 less this game. Okay, I
Uh,
guess.
sure.
Yeah. There is a couple other cards that we're gonna look at here in the next couple of cards that kind of also have this demons that didn't start in your deck synergy. So again, with maybe there's gonna be more that we just haven't seen yet that play off of that, or other ways to like get demons that didn't start in your deck. Um, but without seeing again like huge payoff stuff, to me, I'm like, okay. It's kind of just
Yeah, I mean the stats fine.
sure.
It's funny that
Yeah.
this card is not a demon. I would just assume that
Yes.
it's a demon because, like, right, it would go in some kind of deck that cares a lot about demons. But this card is actually an elemental, so it doesn't even
Hmm.
work with whatever demon synergy you're planning for your demon deck that you're going to generate demons that didn't start in your deck. But you probably would want demons in your deck too, so you'd have demon specific payoffs. It's a strange looking card, but it's decently statted, and there could be ways to make it powerful. Especially because, I mean, you can run 2 copies of it. You play that out early. All of your non-starting from your deck demons would cost like 2 less. If there's lots of cards you can generate a lot of demons with, it could start snowballing. But I'm not super impressed.
Yeah. All right, Ron.
Um,
Here's one that
I
goes
am
with your
impressed
Velen.
by the next card. And this one, 7 mana, 4/3 Draenei, named Arcwing Pilot. At the end of your turn, deal 3 damage to a random enemy, and the spell burst is summon an Arcwing Pilot. Whoa. All right. So first off, if you have any way to discount this card, um, that gets pretty scary. Second, even if you don't, you can try to plan out some like turn 10 style combos. We already know that Mage has Taurus with Rogue and has multiple ways to generate coins, which means you can essentially pretty quickly, I think, have a full board of Arcwing pilots that are summoning Arcwing pilots. And so what, like the idea would probably be that you just want to save up lots of super cheap spells, especially coins, to fill up your entire board with Arcwing pilots, so all of them can deal 3 damage to a random enemy. Ideally, you'd be board clearing on that same turn that you're doing that, so you're looking at like a 21 damage to the face type combo if you can clear the board at the same time. It's a challenge to set it up, but plenty of other supporting cards maybe, and just wild that the spell burst is going to summon another one, then that other one that gets summoned will have the spell burst, so you can play another spell, summon another one, and so on. uh, Things might get out of control pretty quick. Looks like a strong card. I think it might be a build around card for Mage in certain strategies. Whether it'll be good enough remains to be seen, but yeah, I can see the applications there, and it looks like a viable like end game strategy.
Yeah. And the thing that is really interesting to me with this and why I brought up Velen is because I had the same thought as you did of like, okay, there's got to be something that like discounts your next Draenei, right? So
Yeah.
we haven't seen it, but I'm just assuming that there is going to be one because I feel like that is a very uh reasonable deduction to make. Like that I think that would
I
just be
mean,
a
even
reasonable
if there
fit.
isn't, you could probably just have another card that discounts a card anyway. But I
Yeah.
would assume, yeah, they typically do stuff like that.
But I'm thinking if they're going to have something like that, that effect is going to be a battle cry or a death rattle. And then you discount the next Draenei. Then you have Velen to pop off and you get all those effects. and you play Arcwing Pilot, and that is one that you get to summon. So it's like your next Draenei costs 3 less or something. You play this for 4, and
Yeah.
then you have a cheap spell and then summon another one. So if there is a Draenei that discounts your next Draenei, this plus Velen plus that is a combo that I kind of see happening.
And I mean, even just playing this on a turn 7 and doing nothing else. And then you follow up with your turn 8 is Con Man. So you spend 4 mana on Con Man, which would
Ugh,
replay this card.
rude.
And then you have 4 mana remaining on your turn 8 to rip off some spells, which probably, if you're running Con Man, you are running the weapon that gives you coins, and you might have some coins in hand too. So maybe you can get up to like 6 mana and then play, spell, 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 and just goes crazy. There's a lot of things with this card. Of course, with the Mage Tourist existing, just enables a whole lot of shenanigans, and I think this might get out of control, but we will see.
Yeah. All right. Flipping back over to Warlock, we have Archimond. This is the legendary minion for Warlock. It's a 7 mana 7/7. Feels like that's a theme going around. But he is also a demon. And Battlecry, summon every demon you played this game that didn't start in your deck. So again, has that demons that didn't start in your deck kind of effect. There was some like B-roll footage that they released showing off Archimond summoning a full other 6 demons to fill up the whole board, and it's like
Mhm.
that's like best case scenario, right? It's got to be like
Now,
the
yeah.
the high end of the card. I mean, again, depending on like what stuff they have in for discovering demons or generating demons so that you can actually have stuff to play that didn't start in your deck. But it's like, I don't know. Right now, I'm not super excited about the whole demons that didn't start in your deck package.
Yeah. Um, I guess there are other ways beyond just like generating cards in hand. Um, there's also, I don't know if all the death rattle summons from existing things will summon actual, like I don't know if they're demons. The first thing I think of is that 8 mana 5/7 taunt death rattle minion that summons a 5/5 lifesteal, but when it dies, but I don't know if that one is a demon. If it is, that would be very helpful because that
But
does not start in your deck. But if
but
it's not,
the problem is this specifically says demons you played. So with the death rattle triggering, you're not
oh
playing
yeah, yeah.
that. So that's
Oh man,
like
yeah,
I
never
know.
mind. Doesn't even
Right.
work.
Yeah.
uh, hmm. Yeah, so that makes it sound even worse. Um, it certainly doesn't look like a curve card because it seems very unlikely that you'd be able to slam this on turn 7 and get any kind of realistic value out of it, like uh, where you need to spend multiple early game turns just getting demons that didn't start in your deck and then playing said demons that didn't start in your deck, all to build up to this. So it might work best for some kind of like, this is your late game bomb type strategy. And I don't know, when you have decks that are so heavily focused on uh super late in the game, I'm going to make this one really big board, and that exists in the same format as Reno. It does seem a little tricky to have it work in a competitive fashion or any kind of like, now, Reno decks are what they are and not super consistent, and maybe you can just beat them either pre or post Reno turn. But it's like you have this built-in mega hard counter to your entire strategy that you're kind of building around with a card like this. So it's iffy at best, but I don't know. Blizzard does kind of have the opportunity to do the funniest thing where they just don't print any cards that give you demons that didn't start in your deck. It's just like all this support for something that doesn't exist. But yeah, no, I can't see this being like a really powerful card, but it's an interesting effect. And I mean, will obviously just win games the turn it gets dropped if your opponent does not have an answer. It is a card that requires an answer immediately, I would assume, because, if you're playing this card, you're doing the thing that it's trying to support. And you're probably not playing this card for like one or two demons unless you're really desperate. You're probably doing the full board flood. And that board flood is saying, I win the game next turn unless you deal with this. But there's a lot of board clears in Hearthstone. So
Yeah, there
I
are.
don't know. I don't know, man. Maybe. On
All right.
to the next card. We got a mage card here. And it is another Draenei. I did it. I remembered it. 5 mana, 4/6. Ingenious Artificer is a battle cry where the next Draenei you play refreshes mana crystals equal to its attack. Oh, oh wow. Okay. Well, we were literally just talking about the 7 mana one that I think has 4 attacks. So essentially, this could be your setup card for that, where you drop this as maybe a turn 5, and then your, well, you can't actually do it until turn 7 because of the 7 mana cost. But if you're waiting till turn 7, you've already played this card. You're essentially changing your 7 mana Draenei into a 3 mana Draenei. With its 4 attack, it would immediately refresh, and then you can start doing the additional things that you want to pop off with. And that's just the immediate first application that comes to mind with the card we were talking about with the spell burst that summons itself and does damage at the end of the turn. But there's plenty of other applications for this card, and a very powerful looking setup card. Doesn't even have terrible stats for the cost either. 5 mana, 4/6 is fine. It's hard to kill, and gets pretty annoying to deal with. So yeah, I like this card. This card looks good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a setup. It's a not affect the board now, but it's set up for later. So, yeah. I like it too. I think there's definitely some uses for it, and probably not even just with the Arcwing pilot, but probably other ones, because we only have seen, I think, only 2 or 3 mage cards. So we'll see what else even comes out for mage, let alone when you're talking about things like the tourist mechanic, and you can add in other cards too, like, you know, okay. But
Yeah.
you know, with the tourist mechanic, you can play wait, would this stack if you do you get the battle cry if you play Conniving Con Man?
No.
No,
No,
you don't get the
Conman
battle
just
cry.
replays
It's
the
just
card.
okay.
So yeah, he would
Okay.
just be summoning a
Well,
4/6
you don't
on
want
the
to do
board.
that. Boo. No, I was like, if you get the
But
battle cry
I
effect
yeah,
again.
I mean, I like the way you're thinking that it could go super crazy if it did that, but it won't repeat battle cries. What is kind of fun with this card though is you could play this, and then you essentially get like a free, almost free, a 1 mana version of this card to play again for like your next turn. Or on the same turn, I guess if you've got a ton of mana, it wouldn't really work unless you had 10 mana or more. For like a same turn thing, or if you could do something with coins, or refreshing in a different way. But like you could play this on turn 5, and you could play a 1 mana version of this on turn 6 that then discounts your next thing by uh, their attack as well, which is pretty sweet just to get like a whole bunch of extra stats. This for 5, not that strong. This for 1, whew, power.
Velen becomes free. Like you
True.
play
Yeah.
Velen for 7 and then it refreshes 7 mana crystals. Then you get to do
Which might be,
druid
yeah,
stuff
might be one of the
basically.
biggest enablers, I guess, of the whatever Valen combo you're trying to set up, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, all right, I
Mhm.
played this first, so now that 7 mana card is actually a 0 mana card, and now I have my 7 mana to find a way to trigger its death rattle in some way or another, so I
Yeah.
can repeat all the battle cries and death rattles. And
Yep.
repeating all the battle cries and death rattles would also mean that it's refreshing again for your next thing.
Yep.
Oh man. Oh,
Yep.
I was getting out of control. Yeah, there's some cool stuff.
All right. Well, let's look at another demon. This one is neutral, Relentless Wrathguard. This is the 3 mana 4/2 demon. Battlecry, deal 2 damage to an enemy minion. If it dies, discover a demon. Okay, so here's a way to discover demons. You have to kill something off that you deal 2 damage to, and it can only be an enemy minion, so you can't like use this to kill off your own little stuff. I don't know. It's okay. I don't feel like this is like super exciting to me. Just like, sure.
Yeah. Um, I mean, it can't attack immediately. It doesn't have rush. It doesn't have taunt or any other keyword that like really helps you as far. And I mean, even a taunt 4/2 wouldn't really matter. But it reminds me of the Scorpid from a while back. That was like a 4 mana 5/2 and it gained stealth if you killed something, but that could also go face, and this can't go face, which makes me really not like the card very much. I guess maybe it goes in the Archimon deck for Warlock that needs to have like a critical mass of demon discovers. But yeah, it looks questionable at best. You know, maybe you get to play it and do demon things. Could be fun. Our next card is a Demon Hunter card, 6 mana 5/5 demon named Zortoth. Hopefully, I said that right. Breaker of Stars. It has a battle cry that adds 2 stars to both sides of your hand. When they collide, deal 5 damage to all enemies. And I think I've seen this already, where the stars in your hand are like unplayable cards. They just take up card spaces in your hand, and you just need to get rid of the cards that are in between in order to have them collide, and then that will, of course, trigger its effect. I don't know what to make of this card. I'm assuming it probably needs to go in some kind of really aggressive deck as your top end. So you just play this like you're kind of just playing a whole bunch of cards that are cheap on every turn, so you have a very low hand size. If you had an empty hand and you top decked this, the stars would collide immediately. Be a pretty insane. You know, I have no cards. I got to draw a card, top deck, and all of a sudden it's dealing 5 to everything on your opponent's side of the board and their face. But yeah, just in general, you should be able to get this effect to go off fairly quickly if you're just the beat 'em up deck that's playing cheap stuff and low hand size. So you can get this effect to trigger quickly. Seems like a good aggro top deck or top end, definitely top deck. Uh,
Yep.
I don't know what other applications it would have.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought too. Is like this is the top end of an aggressive deck. I mean, maybe you're playing it in some other type of deck, but that was my first thought too. It was like, no, this has got to be the top end, especially just because it says damage to all enemies. That's my favorite wording. Hey, it
Yeah,
hits their face.
sweet.
All right. I'm all for it. Let's go.
Card looks really cool.
It does, yes.
I'm a fan of the art.
All right. Next up, we have the Ceaseless Expanse. This is a
Oh
100
my god.
mana card.
Excuse me, what? How much
Yes,
mana?
it costs 100 mana, and it is a 15/15 legendary. And it costs 1 less for each time a card was drawn, played, or destroyed. Battle cry, destroy all other minions. Okay, so this is cards that were drawn, played, or destroyed on both your side of the board and your opponent's side of the board. So it will start to get discounted fairly quickly, like every turn that passes, especially depending on like what your deck is doing, what your opponent's deck is doing. Like if it's drawing extra cards, then that's going to discount it even faster. Um, the kind of 2 card comparisons I see for this are the 12/12 Deathwing that destroys all other minions and the Phantom, the 15/15 that gets discounted when your deck has less cards in it. So, my thinking is the 12/12 Deathwing that destroys all their minions really doesn't see play. The Phantom has seen a little bit of play in like a very specific deck. This can kind of fit into some decks, but the fact that you can play this for 0 or super cheap to get a big board clear and a body on the board makes it much better.
Yeah, the funny thing, I guess, about this card is it will literally never ever cost 100 because the second the game starts and somebody draws a card, it gets a discount. Um, it's a lot of math that I don't feel like doing ever. For like, how often do you get this card discounted to a playable range? How often does this card cost 0? Seems like it would go in a type of deck that is like extremely draw heavy and needs to have a very cheap like board clear effect while also pressuring. Um, but yeah, I don't know if this card realistically sees any play. Then again, it might be super broken and sees a ton of play in a specific deck that finds a way to make sure that it costs 0 very quickly. Um, but you kind of need your opponent's help to get this to be cheap. And you need to have already cleared a whole bunch of boards in order to make this really cheap. Because, if you draw your whole deck, it still costs 70. So, uh, now playing cards and destroying cards. I mean, if somebody's slow and they're playing one card per turn, this is really not coming out. But if they're playing a whole bunch of things, and especially if they're like board flooding with those whole bunch of things, and then you're clearing that board, this gets discounted really fast. Um, Whale in chat pointed out that you can just run this card in your deck and hope that Marin hits it for 0 on the wand. That would be a hilarious discount, probably. Like
Hilarious for
your
one player. Yeah,
yeah,
not the
your
person on the
highest
other side
discount
of the board.
ever. Yeah, no, they probably wouldn't love it too much if
No.
it's like, oh, my Marin drew 3 1 mana cards that I discounted to 0, and their Marin drew a 100 mana card and they made it cost 0. This is messed up, but yeah, like I'm sure those kind of fireworks will happen eventually on occasion. Might be a card that is run in some decks that care about, you know, just constantly clearing boards and so on. I I'm not impressed by the card. I don't think it's going to be good, but I do have the caveat that if it is good, it might be really good. It's a weird one. 100
Yeah.
mana is wild.
Yeah.
Never seen that before. Did not expect to ever see something like that.
Yes. I mean, I will say like cards like Reska do feel like they get discounted super quickly in a lot of cases to be able to play for
Mhm.
0. So, with that working and destroyed, just things getting destroyed, that's minions getting killed off, that's weapons getting used up, locations getting used up, you know, a weapon getting destroyed or replaced.
Yeah.
Like all of those count as well. So I can definitely see this getting discounted fairly quickly, depending on like what the decks are. But yeah, to me, it still feels a little fringy. But I feel like, just like the Phantom, I feel like someone is going to find a place for it. Even if it's with Marin, maybe without Marin, but like there's going to be a
Yeah.
place for it, I feel like.
Yeah, it seems crazy to me. Like, uh, I know obviously that that text is crazy with how quickly something can get discounted. This discounts faster than any other card in the game. Um, and we've seen how often, Reska can become 0 mana, and that card starts at 20, but this is 5 times the cost of Reska.
It better be.
And
That's a
I don't
powerful effect
know.
and a big
Yeah,
body.
there's some like average, I bet, mathematically for what the typical Hearthstone game would look like after 5 turns, 6, 7 turns, so on, and how much this would cost. But I'm not interested in figuring that out. Someone's got to figure that out and determine whether or not it's viable, and if it is, could be a problem. If it's not, it just no one will play it. But yeah, wow. Moving on to the polar opposite end of the spectrum for mana cost, we have just about we have a 1 mana minion, also a Draenei, called Starlight Wanderer. It is a 2/1 minion with a battle cry that the next Draenei you play gains +2/+1. Um, so just going to go in Draenei heavy decks, of course, and is a very good um, early game type of minion to set up for, more powerful like snowbally type boards, or just more difficult to deal with boards while you're trying to get to your late game Draenei payoffs that do all the extra powerful stuff. Not sure if that necessarily goes into like the mage decks that run specific Draenei, um, but should be an all around contributor to any deck that cares about the tribe.
Yeah, to me, the way that I see this being used is not necessarily in every single deck that's like Draenei heavy, because I just don't think it's like that necessary. I think this goes in a Draenei deck that's more aggressive, that's like the old Shadow Priest with the undead synergies. I feel like this is kind of where you want that. Like, but yeah, I don't think you're running this in like, oh hey, it's Draenei, so I better shove it into every deck that also has some Draenei in it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't. I think in the past, like years and years ago, I probably would have thought that, but after years of playing this game and seeing how things work, I don't think it's gonna go into all the decks.
Yeah. No, it probably just like if there's any kind of more aggressive leaning deck that runs Draenei, this is, or like really cares about a critical mass of how many Draenei you run in your deck
Yeah,
for
yeah,
some kind of reason. Like with elementals, you want to play an elemental every turn in order to get some big payoff like Scar and Shaman. I don't know if that's something that will exist in this kind of expansion where this card would be more necessary. More likely it's just like, hey, I need more Draenei to activate some things, or just to snowball a board. Because on its surface, this is like a 1 mana 4/2 card, uh, just in total stats that you can get, and
yeah,
that could be powerful.
yeah. Well, speaking of powerful, let's talk about more board clears. We've got Black Hole for Warlock. This is an 8 mana shadow spell. Destroy all minions except demons. Okay. So if you're running demons, this seems great. Even if you're running, like, from what we've seen so far, if you're running that little elemental guy that discounts the demons that didn't start in your deck, sure, he's probably disposable. You just send him into the black hole. It's fine. But
Yeah.
this is sure. If you're playing demons, it seems fine.
Yeah, I mean, the immediate comparison is Twisting Nether, but it's a Twisting Nether that doesn't clear your side of the board, um, presuming that you have a bunch of demons. And, well, if you're not running demons, why would you run this card? So, of course, you're going to have a deck that has a bunch of demons on the board, and then you get your full board clear while keeping your board. Um, I can't wait for the hilarious moment when like the warlock that's committed to demons like fully is playing against a demon hunter, and they have like Zortoth on the board, and they're like, curse your Zortoth, I can't clear it with this 8 mana card. But something like that,
Fantastic.
like unlikely event that would be like super relevant in the game.
Yeah.
But it does seem like a good card for a demon focused warlock that is would want to have that, if they also need the kind of board clearing effects that come with it. Who
Yeah.
knows? Who knows if it'll be playable at all?
Yeah.
They're leaning hard into warlocks and demons,
Demons.
so we'll see.
Yeah.
Next up, we have, this is a druid card, right? The
Yeah.
4 mana spell here, and that is Distress Signal. It is an arcane spell, which of course we've already seen some arcane synergy things in previous cards we've looked at. And it summons 2 random 2-cost minions and refreshes 2 mana crystals. So just right away, immediate like 2-card combination that is good. is you could play the 3 mana minion starship piece for Druid that recasts arcane spells. And if that survived the board going into turn 4, you could play this turn 4 card and it would summon 4 random 2 cost minions and refresh 4 mana. So you play this, it's a 0 mana summon 4 random 2 drops. That's amazing. You could also do, if you thought your 3/3 was going to die, which is quite common, you could save it for turn 7 and do a like turn 7 2 card combo where you play the 3 mana starship piece, then you play this. You have a immediate board flood, and you still have 4 mana remaining to do whatever you want with it. You can find this, of course, as your discounted by 2 card, which essentially makes it free if you get it off of the Exarch that Druid has. And there's just plenty of applications for it. Random twos range anywhere from incredible to hilariously game losing bad, like Doomsayer. But Doomsayer is really like one of your only bad outcomes, and generally you're going to be happy with the 2 mana summons that you get. Seems like a playable card at the very least, for no other reason than it never really costs 4. It costs 2. You just can't play it on turn 2.
Yeah. Nope. Seems good. I like this card quite a bit. Also, I just thought about it. I don't know what's going on, Ron, but we've been on like the same thought process for all these cards. We haven't had any like disagreements about cards. I don't know what's going on, but
Yeah,
it's
that's
weird.
unusual. Surely there will be one where we're on the complete opposite end of.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just being reasonable and not like going for hot takes this time around. I don't know. All right. Well, let's talk about some more Starship stuff. We have Dimensional Core. This is a 3 mana, 3/2 Divine Shield Starship piece. I like it. I like it. It's aggressively statted. I mean, more aggressively statted, but it's a 3/2 Divine Shield. Okay. It's cool. Builds up into your starship, gives your starship Divine Shield. At that point, I'm like, I just want it to give my starship Divine Shield. I don't necessarily care about the added stats, but the added stats are a bonus at that point. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
I like bubbles.
Bubbles. That just makes me think of that
um,
character from Finding Nemo. My bubbles.
but yeah, like this is a card that you would never ever consider running if it did not say Starship Piece. 3 mana, 3/2 minion with Divine Shield is um, pretty much unplayable in like today's Hearthstone. So there is kind of a fairly significant drawback to playing this for 3 mana. Um, if you're not doing other things that support like an overall game plan, but giving your Starship Divine Shield and those extra stats can be super relevant potentially. One other interesting thing is it's a lot harder to kill this minion because it has the Divine Shield. So that also means it's harder to get your Starship on the board a little bit faster. So a Starship focused deck like Druid that runs the Exarch might be a little annoyed to play this when they haven't had any other Starship pieces yet, because they can't exactly curve into the Exarch because this minion, unless your opponent is hitting it for you, won't die on your turn to give you the Starship to do the 4 mana play to follow up the 3 mana play. It still probably belongs in a deck like that because you want to give your spaceship the Divine Shield, but there's some awkwardness and a bit of a tempo loss in playing this. So you're probably going to have some other things that can help support it too.
Yeah. Starship, Ron. Starship, not spaceship. Starship.
My bad. Starship. How can I be so wrong? Next up, we've got a 5 mana Starship Hate card, which is Star Volpera. It has 4/5 stat line and also has tradable. So, like all good tech cards, really any tech cards that seem to exist lately, because it has a specific application for it to use. If you don't use it, it feels bad to rot in your hands. They also made it so that you can spend 1 mana and put it back in your deck and draw a different card. Um, and its battle cry is destroy an enemy starship or starship piece, which kind of ranges anywhere from backbreakingly insanely good. Your opponent spent all game trying to build up a starship, finally launched it, and for 5 mana you destroy it. To this might be fully unplayable. Oh no, my opponent is not a starship deck. Well, I guess this does nothing except a 1 mana draw a card, or eventually, sadly, play a 5 mana 4/5 for tempo. But it does also destroy a starship piece, which can be relevant if they haven't launched the starship yet. You at least get to remove a minion from the board. That could also be powerful. Um, I don't really know how to evaluate this card at all at this point yet. I don't know if starships will be super prevalent or um, not that often used. I don't know if destroying the starship will necessarily matter all that much, or a piece will matter. But if it does, you have the answer card. And, often when there's a new mechanic printed, they want to have some kind of answer to the mechanic, and here you are.
Yeah, this is a really interesting like tech piece, tech card. To me, I feel like this is just Viper but in a different form. This is like, in metas where weapons are really prevalent, Viper very good. In metas where starships, and especially if people are being real greedy and building up their starships to bigger starships, this is probably going to be pretty good. In metas where starships aren't really around or they're not necessarily as good, okay. But
Yeah.
I do think it has the added benefit of also destroying a starship piece. So again, this will not interact with if you've already gotten this like a starship piece that has died and then it put it on the board kind of in that like dormant location-y type state on the board taking up a spot. It won't destroy that. It will just destroy the starship after it's launched or a piece that's on the board. So I don't know. Yeah, it's a
At
little
least it
hard to
destroys a
evaluate.
piece too.
Yeah,
Like, I think it might be
that's a
fully
benefit.
unplayable if it didn't, because then you
Yeah,
just have to
agreed.
wait until the starship launches. And if
Yeah,
the starship already launched, maybe you're already doomed.
yeah,
Who
agreed.
knows?
But also with, depending on how many starship pieces there are, like, is playing this to kill off one thing gonna be that good? I don't know.
Yeah.
Depends what else
Depends.
we see, because right now we've only seen like 3 and 4 cost starship pieces. So like you're playing this to
Right.
destroy a 3 mana thing, like, okay, sure, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe. But yeah. I am also a little sad. The flavor text does not make a pun about the game Star Fox, but maybe the title and art are, because I don't know, the way that I look at this art and it's Star Volpera, Volperas are foxes. This just makes me think of the
Yeah.
game Star Fox.
Too bad they didn't do a Star Fox reference flavor text.
I know.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah. Oh well, that's okay. They probably can't name stuff like that, for like legal reasons. But
Perhaps, yeah.
all right. Is my turn
Oh
to read?
boy. Yes.
Okay. We've got the Exodar. This is a legendary neutral minion, 8 mana, 6/10 battle cry. If you're building a starship, launch it and choose a protocol. So the protocols, there's 3 different ones. So you get all 3 as like a discover option, and then you pick which one you want. So the first one is emergency repairs. Gain armor equal to the ship's health twice. Deal damage equal to the starship's attack randomly split between all enemies. Or get copies of all the starship's pieces. Set their costs to 1. Yeah, I'm all for this card. This card seems cool. You play this for
It's
8, you get a
incredible.
6/10, and you get to launch your starship without paying the 5 mana, and you get some other effect. Yep, sign me up.
Honestly, I was looking for a reason why I should build a starship. Outside of building a starship sounds really cool and fun, but like, how do I win games by, you know, going the starship route? Oh, this is how. Nice. Okay, that's really cool. I love the Exodar. I think, of course, it's mandatory in any starship deck, and yeah, you maybe just never want to spend that 5 mana to launch your starship, because for 3 more mana you can launch it and summon a 6/10 and do another really cool thing alongside it. And if you did launch it before the Exodar, then well, the Exodar does nothing. So uh, not not ideal. I suppose, I mean, you can build a new starship, but by the time that you've already
Yeah.
like built one and launched one, and then you have to play another piece and have that piece die and then play the Exodar, like, you're pretty much
Yeah.
trying to just save everything on your one starship to go crazy with the Exodar. But it looks sweet. I don't know if we can top this card.
I don't think
As
so.
far as other things to talk about, especially with
Knowing
the
what the
other
other
ones I think
cards
that got
are,
revealed.
no.
Yeah. And actually a whole bunch more I think just now got revealed, which
Yeah.
we probably don't have time to go through in today's show. But yeah, Exodar gets me very excited for like
Yes.
what's to come next. And then we have less exciting. It's a giant. It's an 8 mana 8/8 giant. Like all giants. This card is called a red giant. It's an elemental, and it costs 1 less for each adjacent card played well in hand, which is a very similar style of effect to the Demon Hunter 6 mana demon that we saw, where it seems like it would need to fit into like aggressive decks, and maybe could be like a good payoff for that, where you surround it with really cheap cards, and you just keep playing things to the left and to the right of it to keep discounting it. um I don't know, you can't really control what cards and what costs are around it unless your whole deck is like super cheap. It'd be a horrifically bad draw as a top deck at any point in the game, pretty much, except for like super early. It's a card you'd want to keep early, theoretically, so that you could discount it faster, but then it also crowds out your other plays. There's so many things that make this card seem like hot garbage to me. Uh, Cards on fire. I think maybe it's a dumpster fire. uh, I don't know. I
Yeah.
uh, I don't think it's playable. It might be the worst giant I've ever seen. I think I might nickname this unplayable giant.
Yeah, the thing that I like most about it is the like its thematic involvement with like a red giant like gas planet,
Mm.
that's
Yeah,
and even the flavor
art is cool.
text.
Art looks cool.
Yeah. And then even the flavor text. Lots of cards get played around it, but it's the real star. Like fantastic. Cuz literally
Yeah,
it's like cards played on either side of this and planet, stars. Yeah. Like it's great. It's great. But
a
that's the best
flavored
thing about
W,
it.
a competitive L.
Yes. All right.
You do.
Then the next one we have is Doom Maiden. Is a 4 mana 4/4 demon. Uh Battle cry, draw a card from your opponent's deck. If you don't play it this turn, put it back. Okay. So it could be a little bit of disruption, I guess, if you're looking for that, but I don't know if this is like this is something you want to discover or generate into your hand in that demon deck. Didn't start in your hand or didn't start in your deck kind of thing. I don't know if you
Yeah,
even
it
want to
works
put it in
works
your deck.
great in the Warlock mirror,
Yeah, there you
where
go.
if you stole a card that costs 6 or less and you saved this card to play on turn 10 or something, I don't know. It's a 4 mana 4/4, so the stats aren't impressive. The battle cry is
Yeah.
like give you information, maybe, which could help in certain situations. Um, there's a maybe you could play this if you know what their card is and you have a discard like your highest or lowest type card in hand. I don't see anyone but Warlock pretty much ever wanting to play this. Maybe some kind of control priest for the information or disruption. It seems super fringe and kind of bad.
Yeah.
Unless there's some heavy support for what you can do with a temporary card in your hand um, for really cheap that you can pair with this card. I don't think it sees play at all.
Yep, I agree. All
But
right.
it exists, and that's something. Um, so that's the most favorable thing I can say about it. It exists. On to the next card, we have a 5 mana minion, another amalgam type minion. It is all tribes. So any tribal deck has at least a reason to consider possibly running this. It's a 5 mana 3/8 called Mutating Life Form. After this survives damage, gain a random bonus effect. Honestly, I think it's just a little bit too expensive, and there's 8 bonus effects, and lots of them are garbage. And kind of don't have much impact. So you're just kind of reliant on this being useful to give you something, or you want to damage it like multiple times in a turn. Uh, I can't see make your own like one amalgam band style effect for a combo of things that is highly dependent on multiple favorable scenarios to go well for you. If you just try to slam this as like a tempo card because it has high health and could be annoying and supports the tribe, maybe there's something, but looks like filler to me.
Yep, I agree. I agree. I don't know what else I can add to that. That was a really good explanation.
Give me more the Exodar and less
Yes.
mutating life form.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. And the last one we have is Ace Wayfinder. This is a 5 mana 5/5 neutral. It's a Draenei, and Battlecry gain 2 random bonus effects. The next Draenei you play gains them as well. Sure. I mean, again, this feels kind of like if you need to play some Draenei and you need more Draenei in your deck. Um, Maybe there's some benefit to this since you get 2 random bonus effects and the other Draenei gets those 2 as well. But I feel like this is probably going to be something that's decent in like arena. I don't know about
Yeah.
competitive standard though, which is what we're
It could
focused
be
on.
some interesting kind of stat bomb, for instance, with like the mage card that allows you to discount a refresh mana based on the attack. So like playing this as a 0 mana 5/5 as a follow-up. It's like essentially like a 0 mana 5/5 with bonus effects that carries over to your next Draenei that you play. Um, it requires like a lot of setup and some mana awkwardness because it's not like you if the card just said like you could essentially make the thing 0 instead of like refreshing the mana for its attack, then you could really go off with this and make like something powerful where like you could maybe play the 4 mana or 5 mana 4/6 in mage on turn 5 and also play this immediately on turn 5 and do more things. Then maybe it's strong. But because it's not how it works, and you'd have to actually have the mana to spend in order to refresh and then do more things, it's a little bit more iffy. But it is a battle cry with things that, Valen can repeat and keep stacking with other Draenei. There could be some Draenei focused deck that wants this card. I think you're probably right that it's more arena style than anything else. But even then, I mean, uh, you might not have that many Draenei in your arena deck, and then you're just like, well, this got 2 random effects, but
Yeah.
doesn't do anything else. Yeah, I don't know. Could be okay.
Yeah. All right.
Needs more Exodar.
Yes.
I'm just hyped about the Exodar.
Exodar looks so cool. Yeah, it looks good. Oh. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about those cards, Ron. We had like the same thoughts about all the cards. I had none
Good
that
thing
were
there's
like
plenty more
hot
cards to be
takes.
revealed. We've agreed
Yeah.
on, like 15, 20 cards before in a set of 145, and then we just wildly disagree on some of the other ones in the next like 120 or so. So don't worry, there's
So
plenty of
there's
time for
still
us to
time for my
clash.
hot takes, is what you're saying. All right.
Hell yeah.
Still time for shenanigans. Okay, good.
Right. But anything else on the cards or upcoming expansion before we wrap up the show for today?
No, I think that this is an expansion that for a little while now I'm probably the most excited for. Like the mechanic looks awesome, the theme looks awesome, the cards are looking awesome. I'm just and the whole like setup of like reveal and then, card reveal stuff and then that tavern brawl and just it's
Oh yeah.
exciting. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Reveal seasons are great, and this is probably one of the more exciting expansions for me too that I've
Mhm.
seen out of Hearthstone in a good deal of time. So yeah, I mean, we're going to space. Hell yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. I can't wait. But for today, that will conclude our show. And thank you all for joining us this week. If you or someone you know would be interested in joining us, please reach out to us. You can email us at tccgroundtable@protonmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at tccgroundtable. Use our top pinned tweet for a link to our Discord, or use the link in the description and show notes. You can check out the video version at youtube.com/c/dragonridertccg. And you can find us everywhere you can find audio podcasts. Also, if you would like to help support us directly while getting some sweet merch like playmats and other card game accessories, please use our Inked Gaming affiliate link. You can also follow Amber Flight Gaming on Twitter at AFlightGaming, and check out our new merch, which we have at exclaim.gg/store/AFG. And where can they find you individually for those interested, Don?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, DonnieDK. That's DAWNIEDK. You can find me both on Twitch and YouTube, Dragon Rider TCCG. And you can hear me talking all things standard Hearthstone specifically, which very much what we did just now. So if you like that, check out the Doctor 3HS podcast. And what about you and Dankist?
So for Dankist, you can find him on Twitter at Dad Dankist. And also, as he's fond of saying, you can find him on the streets of Ohio. You do have to figure out the right street at the right timing, and it also involves you being in Ohio, which, you know, is up to you if you choose to attempt it. And then you can find him on his YouTube channel as well. Some other card reveals coming out. I don't think he has his YouTube written down here though, does he? Is it just Dad
Um,
Dankist as well, or Dankist Dad?
I think it's
If you search Dankist Dad on YouTube,
CCG.
you'll probably find him.
Yeah,
Is there a CCG in there?
I think so.
Ah, uh, apologies for not having that on the top of my head. He can scold me about that next week. And then you can find me individually, also on Twitter at Ron_HS, and you can find me streaming on Twitch weekdays around 7 p.m. Eastern at Ron Mexico HS. Again, thank you for joining us. That is our show for this week, and we will see you at the roundtable.